Welcome to the Whiskey Congress. Honest, open talk dedicated to speaking the truth to those who are open to hearing it. Black, white, right, left. Most importantly, honest, bold, and fueled by good whiskey. In Whiskey Veritas, we are Whiskey Congress. Join the evolution.
Whiskey Congress is back in session. Steven and I are together in the Cleveland studio. Steve, I texted you earlier and said, like, hey, it's been a while. Has anything happened since we spoke? And you responded to me like I was being a rational human. Why were you doing that?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I thought you were just talking about today
in
general.
No.
I had a lot of shit going on.
Fair.
And I hadn't been kind of plugged into some of the stuff going on in the news today, so I wasn't sure if you were talking about today.
And in your defense, how many times have we done a show where a day later crazy shit happened?
Yes.
You're like, fuck, we should have recorded yesterday or tomorrow.
Yeah, and the way it just worked out, I was out of town most of last week in Kentucky working on some 3D printing stuff. So, between dealing with a giant robot, trying to build a house, and being covered in concrete, then driving back from Kentucky right into my daughter's birthday, I did manage to keep up with what was going on, but I mean, I was exhausted. It was hard for me to wake up this morning.
I can imagine.
Bro,
I struggled as well, but not for the same reasons.
Got my workout in, and then got back to work, and then was able to break free so we could get together because we couldn't miss. The last week has been
a fucking wild week, my friend.
I mean, so we're gonna go ahead and just jump into it. We're gonna start with the Trump assassination attempt, which seems like so long ago, just given the way things have unfolded. But that was crazy, right?
All right, so
because that happened on a Saturday. Okay.
It happened on Saturday, and let me state the narrative as it exists, as I understand it, and then I have a question for you. So on Saturday in Butler, Pennsylvania, multiple gunshots were fired at former President Donald Trump. One of the bullets allegedly struck his ear, causing a 2-centimeter injury, according to Dr. Ronnie Jackson. Which is the only medical report that's been released. All right. So multiple shots fired by a 20-year-old who got onto a building an hour from his house, and he is fairly quickly taken out by the Secret Service.
Unalived.
He was neutralized, which is an awesome term, isn't it? But I have questions.
Okay. So what do you have questions about his ear based off the way you phrase that, or
yes.
What? Okay.
Yes. I have questions about the wound because a 2-centimeter wound is a big fucking wound.
Okay.
That's almost an inch. I mean, do the math. That's that much. I'm making that hand gesture. I don't know, Steve. I'm not.
What don't you know?
I don't know if it was a bullet that hit him.
Oh, you guys are so silly. I mean, look, everyone's saying that, if the bullet would have hit him, it would have. Yes. Okay, here's the deal. It's a .556 round, right, that is humming at a very high rate of speed, right?
Correct. Yes. About 3,000 feet a second.
Yes.
Yes, I understand.
So
I know ballistics.
Okay, right. And I know you do, right? So that's everyone's so locked in on that, and it's just well, if it would have hit him, it would have done look, it grazed him, right? It grazed him, kept going, and then it killed someone. Right? I mean, that round, here, one of the reasons why you don't use a .556, right, an AR pistol or whatever with a .556 chamber barrel, is because those rounds will go through.
They'll tumble, yeah.
Right, they'll go through a person and they'll go through a wall, right? They'll keep on humming and go right through your drywall or whatever, and could kill someone on the other side. So
you and I have had this argument on the show where I say it's a terrible home defense weapon because of that reason.
Right, but
you don't want to shoot.
You can still have an AR that's chambered with a different with a different ammunition size.
Okay.
That's more effective in the house, right? Like, so my in the house gun is a 300 black, right? Where with a type of bullet that's
judging you.
Okay, no. What I'm saying is, I wouldn't use 5.56 for a home defense. I use 300 black because there's a less probability that it's going to go through that wall, especially with the type of ammunition that I use in that particular round. Right now, going back to Trump, you've got a 5.56 round that can go through a person and go through a fucking wall. So chances are it could buzz his ear and keep going and go through a human, which it did. Right? Like, everyone's so mystified by that. Like, oh my God, how could it?
I'm not mystified by that.
So what exactly are we mystified by? Like, it literally just grazed his ear.
I am mystified by how it could graze his ear, and yes, it would.
And what?
So let me say this: I did a little amateur ballistics thing, and was like, okay, I looked at the map of where things were allegedly happening from. And logistically, it could have happened that way.
It fucking did happen. You fucking, like, you can see, like, there are shots of, you can see where the bullet was coming. Like, that's why, like,
I have not seen
this whole conspiracy. Like, there is literally a freeze frame shot where you can see the bullet as it's approaching his head, right? And if he doesn't look up and to his right, then his brains are splattered all over that teleprompter, right?
Okay, well, I've not seen that.
Okay,
so that's on me.
But again, like, it grazes. Now, actually, I don't know if the shot that grazed his ear is the shot that ended up killing the person in the stands in front of him. I shouldn't say that. But what I do know is the idea of that bullet just grazing him and keeping on humming is, like, that's not far fetched at all.
I agree with you there. What I'm disagreeing, or what I'm
what are you challenging?
What I'm challenging is the idea that it would miss him in the angle it did, because to nick his ear and then not harm anyone until it got past his whole head, that's a really convenient.
That doesn't make any sense. What are you talking about? Like, if that bullet is moving so fast, it literally clips his ear,
Steve,
and keeps going and either went into the teleprompter, right? And I don't know if that bullet went into the teleprompter and that's where the glass broke, or if that is the bullet that kept going and went into the person that it ultimately ended up killing, right? So, I mean, I think that this is where, like, people want there to be a conspiracy here, right? Like, people, like, your dick got hard because you immediately went to JFK, multiple shooters on, like that. I mean,
okay,
as soon as it came out,
fair.
Like,
that's not fair.
It is fair. It is fair.
It's 100% fair.
It's 100% fair. Don't start. You know it's fair. But, like, from the angle, right, if we're really talking about ballistics, and as a person who shoots on a regular basis, he's at an elevated position, he's shooting down. Trump's head, like, again, Trump doesn't look up and to the left like he did, doing that weird thing that Trump does, right? Like, Trump's ticks are literally what saved his life, right? Like, I mean, like, we're like, okay. People are hemming and hawing over this. Like, listen, that, like, as much as I can't stand the guy, and I think that his entire administration, if they get into office, are definitely a threat to democracy in our republic. I don't want him dead. I don't want him killed because that
would be a disaster.
No, and I'm not saying you do, but what I'm saying is that man and his weird ticks, right, are literally what saved his life, because if he doesn't move his head the way that he does, that bullet hits him in the back of the head, and then there's no debate about the ballistics.
Let me ask this.
Because, like, I want to just go back to, he's at an elevated position, he's shooting down, that bullet is humming, to say the least.
Yeah.
Right? It flies past, because what does he do? Like, as soon as it nicks his ear, and he's like, what the fuck? Like, you saw him, right? And then this is also how you know, right? It nicks his ear, and then everybody heard the shot, which makes perfect sense, right? They're kind of like, what the fuck just happened? Then multiple shots rang out, right? And I don't know if the shooter took another shot, or if that was the Secret Service taking him out, because Secret Service knows where he was, right? Now, you want to get into the conspiracy stuff. My conspiracy stuff is all that stuff on the back end, where it's like, you knew where he was, you saw him, you act like, then why the fuck did you wait as long as you did, wait until after he took the shot?
I want to come back to that.
Right, we can come back to that, but as it goes, I need you to agree with me on the ballistics that it makes perfect sense that bullet was able to fly through.
In theory, that could happen, yes.
It's beyond theory. Like, you literally saw it happen.
Steve, I remember I was deer hunting in West Virginia in the early 90s. And there were these two guys who were literally drinking whiskey out of a bottle as my dad and I were walking into the woods. This is Thanksgiving weekend, and they fired a shot to sight in their deer rifle. Mm-hmm. And my dad and I flinched. He goes, I don't know why we flinched. If the bullet was going to hit us,
too late.
It would have happened. Exactly.
Right.
So that is 100% accurate. The bullet is faster than the sound. No doubt. I have issues with whether or not the logistics of him getting into place. Like, how does
that's
a different issue.
That's different. But I need an agreement from you. Right?
It is ballistically possible, yes.
And that's just what I'm sorry, I guess.
No, you're not.
That it's not.
Have to be.
I don't know, but the dude shot a bullet with decent range and speed and velocity that clipped his ear, and the bullet kept going. It might have been the one that killed the guy. It might have went into the teleprompter, and maybe the teleprompter, because he had multiple nicks. Because we actually did see the wound. I may not have seen the report, but there are plenty of images of what his ear looked like after, and it's in line with the bullet grazing by. It is a straight line that goes down across his ear. And I've been around enough broken glass from like glass exploding and whatever. Broken glass, it's not going to leave a streak down the side of your face like that. Everybody making that argument.
You used to work in the hood. You
Yes.
used to work in a shitty neighborhood.
Right? I'm sorry. I've been around exploding glass while it's being shot at, which is not an ideal work situation, but it is what it is. And when that glass hits you, it doesn't, it's not going to whiz by, especially in the skin on the ear. Right? So that's what happened. The bullet goes by, grazes his ear. That we can agree on. We'll stipulate to that fact. Yes? Okay.
We'll move on from that.
Okay. I mean, you're going to go down your rabbit hole. It is what it is. But I think that's
fine.
That's ridiculous, and it's a problem. It is a problem because people are focusing on that, and they're trying to turn that into something that it's not, right? And it's polluting this conversation about what happened because there was a serious fuck up by the Secret Service on this. On so many levels.
100%
to the point where you have to wonder if it was so bad and so egregious that was this incompetence or was it intentional? And that debate I will listen to all day, every day. Whether the shot hit his ear or not, that's a debate I'm not willing to listen to because you fucking saw it. You saw his reaction. You saw the crowd's reaction. You know that bullet. You know that at least a bullet landed in front of him.
Cut his ear. I'll give you that.
It was a fucking bullet, right? Then what was it? You really think that it was sheer glass?
Yes.
Okay. Then you're being that is being intentionally intellectually dishonest. I believe because
really?
Because
that's an aggressive thing for you
I'm
to say
sorry
to me.
because because I think it is. I think you want it to be a conspiracy. I think you want it to be something else. But there is no way that shard glass is going to rip up his ear and leave that mark. I'm sorry, it's not.
I'm fine with you saying that. And look,
I mean, because we could do
intellectual honesty is something I am huge about.
I know.
You know.
I agree,
so
and that's
you're
why
calling me out. Cool,
and I'm calling you out on it because
fine.
here's the thing. Because what you can do is that you can recreate that shot, right, with the same sort of glass as whatever the teleprompter is made out of. Right, and have something there and look at it, and I'm telling you, you can do that 1,000 times. Okay. So right, and you're not going to get the glass that's going to fly back, and it's going to rip up his face. Let me ask this: around the same path that the bullet took. Come on.
I'm not saying that. I don't think it was the same path that the bullet took. I think it was.
But we saw we saw the wound on his ear.
Did we?
Yes,
because Ronnie Jackson came out and said it was a 2-centimeter hole. That 2 centimeters is an inch, Steve. That is the size of.
Jim, stop with Ronnie Jackson.
Easy joke.
Okay, stop with Ronnie Jackson. That dude was handing out. Every drug under the sun like they were fucking Skittles in the White House.
Yes, they were.
And he was taking them. And he was taking them, washing them down in whiskey.
Why is he the fucking guy that's giving the fucking medical reports?
Okay, so he's the medical report you're going to go off of?
That's the only one that's been released.
Okay. Do yourself a favor. Okay.
I can't believe we're going down this road.
Like, Ronnie Jackson, probably not the guy that Ronnie Jackson is the same guy that said that Donald Trump was the healthiest man that he's ever seen in his life.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay?
We agree.
Okay, so I'm not looking at Ronnie Jackson's medical report. I'm sorry.
Who else's medical report is
You're not
available?
going to get one. You're not going to get one.
Exactamundo.
But I don't need one because I saw it. And everybody, like, if you just go back, right? Just go back to the actual day that it happened, right? Because they didn't have time to cover it up on fucking Fox News, right? Like, they literally showed him, they showed him pictures of him standing there, right, with his ear bleeding. And you can see it clear as day that it is a line. It looks like somebody took a samurai sword and went right down his ear. That is coming from a bullet moving at 1,000 feet per second, ripping the skin open on his ear, but not going
3,000 feet a second.
Right, or 3,000 feet a second. Yeah, and ripping the skin off of his ear because it didn't hit him. Like, like, that part is of all the shit that happened, right? That is the least conspiratorial thing of all the things.
So let me ask this: 20-year-old kid drives an hour, finds his way on top of a roof, and gets in position and does not get shot dead by the Secret Service.
So back up.
These are different issues. I agree.
No. Back up. Here's where I take issue. It's not just that. I don't care how far he drove, right? Everyone's like, he drove an hour. I don't give a fuck if he drove 5 minutes or fucking 5 hours, right? But he walks.
I have the logistics.
Just think about this. Dude walks in, right? Now, what I want to know is, where was the rifle? Was it already there, or did he bring it in with it? Because they said he climbed because there were witnesses.
He climbed a ladder.
He climbed a ladder with the rifle.
Did he bring a ladder with him?
No, I think the ladder was there. Right, I think the ladder was there. Now, question
how
why?
How would he know what the fucking ladder was there?
Right, like, how did he know to get on that building to be where, like, to be that would give him the line of sight to where Trump was going to be? Great question. Also, there were people who saw him and said, like, hey, that guy is climbing up, and I don't think he's part of Secret Service. Somebody should look into that. Right. Also, either Secret Service, FBI, somebody, local police, somebody was in the building that he was on top of. Jim.
Yes.
They were literally like he's shooting at the president, and they're like, oh my God, something's going on. I wonder what it is. I don't know, bitch. Look the fuck up, right? Like, just look up.
All right,
or go outside and look up.
Let's do a logistics thing here. If you want to finish, go ahead.
But hold on. So the guy gets in. Now, mind you, when he comes through security, we know for a fact that he had a range finder on him, right? You know what a range finder is, right?
I do. Yeah, sure.
Whatever, right? So you have
golf for the douchebag who shot every shot with one.
Right. You have a former president that's giving a speech, and you let somebody in that has a rangefinder and a book bag? Like, what are we doing? Right? So then the guy climbs up, and you've got people who are just like, hey, that guy is climbing up there. Somebody should look into that. Right? So nobody looked into it? Nobody went up there and said, hey, excuse me, bud, what are you doing? Secret Service. Okay, I'm going to need to see some ID. Right?
I'm 100% with you on that. That's actually one of my bigger points is, if you're gonna say don't,
No. So all on this, because none of this makes sense. Here's the other thing, right? I'm not in the Secret Service, and I'm not a police officer, but
correct.
I do private armed security for well-to-do people.
Yes,
right. And even with our ragtag bunch, right? We've got some former military guys. We've got some former cops.
A ragtag bunch. I've met your bunch. I'm not wrong. I may be an asshole, but I am not wrong. You were once handed a firearm. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry, Steve. I didn't mean to rat you out. Or did I?
With our ragtag bunch. And
my wheezy laugh gets good reviews.
Well, you can explain why that's funny later. But so we've got a group, and listen, before we go in and we do anything, even if we're just picking somebody up from the airport, or and taking them to a hotel where they're going to be overnight, and then transporting to another location before they leave again. Like, there are multiple security checks that are done at every location that we're going to be at and in between along the way, also looking at potential things that could be problematic along the way, right? And we are not the Secret Service. We are not right. Like,
thank you.
Okay,
but you're still not fucking around.
Right, but we are absolutely not fucking around.
You guys are fucking psychos. If you want my honest opinion, you're packing heat. I'm like, come on, guys, you're taking this guy to this place. Let's be real. I don't ever say it because you're a bunch of bad dudes I don't want to fuck with. But I'm not wrong.
But listen, like some of these people, dude, that we can't. Like,
well, whatever.
That's another conversation.
You know what?
Anyway, but the point being is, like, that's just basic shit, right?
This is a fucking Secret Service.
This is the former president of the United States, right? Whether you like him or not, no matter what, the Secret Service was there along with local law enforcement, right? Local law enforcement, multiple law enforcement groups, not only from Butler, PA, but from other county police.
The Secret Service was in charge of this protection.
I know, exactly, right? Like, so the idea that you had high ground with a flat fucking surface that would allow you to be looking down at the exact point where the president is, and the fact that not only somebody was able to climb up there, but why wouldn't you have a sniper there?
Steve,
right?
Would you have missed that shot? Because no, you wouldn't have, nor would I.
Look.
I'm just saying, I've been a hunter for decades.
I will say this. Now, I will say this. Look. That shot, I think, was...
Is it 130 yards?
Yeah, 150 yards. Between 130 and 150 yards. Now, right, there's... Would I have made the shot? Probably, but I could tell you a couple of reasons why he might not have made it. Right?
You're sure he's a fucking ex-president.
Right, like, I mean, adrenaline...
Sure. Sure.
You know, like, the wind could have shifted slightly. We know Trump's head moved slightly. His zeroing an optic at that distance, right? Because a lot of people zero their rifles at 25 or 50 yards as opposed to 100 or 150 out. So even if you zero optic in...
My deer rifle was sighted at 100.
Okay.
And I will say this, that this is going to throw to you and to our friend Ben from Kentucky. I would hit that shot 9 times out of 10 with my deer rifle, which ironically is a bolt action 270. And I always tell you and Ben, like, I don't have a reason to own an AR, and my deer rifle would have been more deadly at that, in those circumstances.
I mean, it was just as deadly. Right?
Well, it's a bigger hole.
Hits him.
It's a bigger hole.
If it hits him, he ain't gonna make it.
But I'm just saying that it's funny to me, like, everyone wants to ban ARs, and I'm not an AR
Separate
guy.
conversation.
Again, you're right.
I'm saying, but my point is, if he's not exactly sighted in, you could have had the wind change. He's got adrenaline pumping. He's not a professional shooter. We know that he did.
20.
We know that he did practice shooting, right? Like he did.
Did that get?
Yeah, we know that he practiced. I think they found the range where he actually practiced at. There's all sorts of stuff that he was a bad shooter, and then they said no, he wasn't a bad shooter. We don't know.
By the way, you know who else was called a bad shooter?
Yeah, your boy
Harvey Oswald.
Right. So, like there's a lot of factors that go into those longer distance shots, and people, because there's plenty of people out there in the gun community like, 100, like say the same thing. Like I would have made that shot every day, right? Like,
yes.
And okay, maybe
you would have.
Maybe.
But we're not in that
Let me put you in a high-pressure situation. Like, it's one thing when you're just shooting at paper targets. It's a whole other thing when you're trying to assassinate the former president of the United fucking States. Right? Okay?
Accurate. Yes.
So,
yes.
I mean, look, I've never tried to do that. I can't tell you how I'm going to perform in that situation.
Oh, you haven't, have you?
But what I can tell you is that there's a lot of factors.
I don't know why I just did that. I don't know why. But take him out, not me. I'm a bad person.
Jesus.
No, but you're right. You're right.
You know what I'm saying?
Look,
now,
even in a hunting situation,
right.
when the deer walks out in front of you, the adrenaline's rolling,
dude,
man. You're jacked.
Yes, right. Like you're exactly same sort of thing. Like here it is.
And it's
right?
probably amplified a bit more when you're trying to murder a former president.
The former president of the United States.
Agreed.
So my point is, there's a lot of reasons why that shot. But here's the thing. It wasn't a terrible shot that he took, right?
No,
because
again,
Trump looks
allegedly
up into
his ear.
Trump looks up the way Trump looked up at the time and slightly moves his head in that fraction of a second that changes everything because that bullet is just on this straight line, right? And I didn't see. There's not a video recording of what his scope saw, right? If he was dead center on. right? But again, at that distance, a little bit of wind, right, pushes that bullet a little bit out. He turns his head a little bit and then turns it back, so it ends up clipping his ear, as opposed to going through the back of his head or whatever. All those things are possible.
Let me say it
but
again.
Let's go back to the whole point of this. The fact that he was in that position to make that shot makes no fucking sense. So that, like, the look.
Okay.
Now there are people who are
100%
saying
there. 100% on the same page.
because now obviously the Secret Service is trying to do damage control, and I don't know what to believe, and it's not from a conspiracy standpoint. Here's the problem. People are saying Trump didn't have enough Secret Service around him, right? Like his team, and like he asked for more, they wouldn't give him more. Secret Service is coming out and saying, look, we sent the same, he had about the same size of a team that would have gone with President Biden, give or take one or two people. I don't believe what the Secret Service is saying, that they sent him out with a team the size that they would send out with Biden. I don't buy that. I don't believe that at all. Also conservatives are saying, oh, well, there was a woman there, and there was this frumpy woman who looked completely out of her depth, right? Which the Secret Service has got to own that, right? Like, and she didn't look the part at all.
They made a DEI thing, yes.
Yeah, I mean, and it's just like, I don't want to get caught up in the DEI thing, but this is a bad look. Like, the woman looked like she should be coaching fucking gym at Magnificat and not a Secret Service agent. And
no
that's
one
not
who's
a
from
benefit.
Cleveland gets that
Right,
reference.
but I mean, and that's
I
probably
do.
not even accurate because most of the gym teachers now don't
probably in much better shape.
right, or like she just did not look like she should be there as a Secret Service agent, right? Like it just like.
All right,
But the point is that I don't believe that you had the numbers that you should have had there, given how big, right, your overall, basically your perimeter was, right? Like, because my thing is 150 yards, right, elevated position with a flat roof,
fucking joke,
is definitely within the perimeter, right?
Steve, at 150 yards
Right?
with my fucking 22 that I bought when I was 12 years old, I could hit a target.
I mean,
It would be.
I'm gonna put you to the test on some of this shooting stuff.
I'd love to.
I'm gonna put you to the test on some of the shooting stuff because you haven't shot in a long time.
It's been 2 weeks.
Okay, all right. I'm
With
gonna have to see
handguns only. But okay. But in any event, all right.
But the point being,
I don't want to get to
the bigger thing is, how did he get up on the roof? That makes no fucking sense.
How did he get to the place?
Right?
How did he get on the roof?
How he got there? Well, hold on, back up, easy.
I'm being easy.
I mean, again, how he got to the fucking rally doesn't matter, right? Like everybody knew where the rally.
Me.
Why?
Because
he knew the rally. We all knew the rally was there.
Everyone knew was happening. But
there was a guy there with overalls and dyed hair and holding a corn dog. If that guy could find it, then
I'm not saying finding it was hard. I'm saying finding a shooting spot and getting to that spot.
Okay, so that question of how he found the location from which he shot from is extremely valid, and it's critical because, again, how did he know to go there, to be there at the time that he was there? Because he didn't get there long.
All right,
right? He didn't get there long before Trump. It's not like he just was up there.
You can't, right? You can't show up 2 hours early and set up a...
Jim, I don't know. I don't know because... No. You shouldn't be able to. But I don't know, like... It seems like he might have been able to do that.
I think we're on the same page, though.
How
his
this guy...
ability to get into position...
Yes.
Without getting shot in the fucking head,
or without someone,
and people saw him, by the way.
Right, like fine. They didn't necessarily have to shoot him on sight when he walked through with a rangefinder, but like, I'm sorry. For some reason, if I ended up working a Trump rally and somebody walked in with a fucking rangefinder and a backpack, I'm like, you need to come with me. I don't know what authority I have. But
and if that guy's got a fucking rifle with him,
right? Like you need to come with me.
You're trained on him,
sir. I'm gonna need you to sit down. We're gonna go through your bag, right? I'm gonna call these guys over who have badges, and they're gonna look through your shit, right? And if it all checks out, then it's like, you know what? We're gonna keep this rangefinder, right? This thing that tells you not only where something is, but how far away it is. We're gonna keep that. Right, you can get it on your way out. Make sure we'll put it in this little, finders keepers box here, and then you're gonna go not that far away so we can see what the fuck you're doing. Like
playing to your point, that guy, you've worked private security for people way less important than Donald fucking Trump.
Absolutely.
And if that guy comes anywhere near the perimeter you're supposed to be watching, you're going, oh, no, not doing this. And this guy got in. And
he gets in, he walks through. I still need to understand how he gets where was the rifle? Did he bring it with him, or was it already there? If it was already there, how? Right? How was it not found? How did he get up on the roof? And then, because how did he get up on the roof if people see him go up on the roof and nobody got him off the fucking roof?
So
right?
my shitty logistics thing did not pull up any, like, I looked at the ballistics and what could happen, and he could have gotten into that spot and fired a shot at that angle. Okay, fine, whatever. But you would agree with me that getting to that spot with no
resistance from Secret Service, police, or a fucking usher.
Or knowledge of what the fucking place looked like. I mean, maybe he scoped it out. I don't know. But I want to know.
My only thing is, it was in Butler. He's an hour away. Is it possible? Like, I mean, when did he know? Like, when did we know that this event was going to happen? Right? I'm sure someone said something a couple weeks prior. I'm sure it was plastered all over. Right? So, is it possible that the guy could have drove by the site? Right? Because
it is possible. I'll
right?
give you that.
And I think it would have had to have happened. Right? There's no way that the dude just walked in and said, "Oh, this looks good."
Because
so he had to have scoped. He had to have scoped the site and checked it out and looked and cased it and figured it out. But, okay, even if he does that, right, and now to your point, how does he do that? Like, it's Butler, PA, right? It's not like the Secret Service is going to be posted there for 2 weeks prior to the event, right? They're going to show up a couple days before. They should do some sort of a sweep. They should identify these different locations that could be problematic over the course of the time where Trump is going to be there and other important speakers. And then, there should have been a map, and then there should have been every, weak point you figure out how that you're going to deal with that, right? Now, if they didn't have enough people, right? Now, what I will buy is that Secret Service is full of shit when they say that they sent the number of people that they would have sent with Biden. Trump didn't have enough security there, which, whether you like him or not, he should have a lot of security. Because he's such an asshole, I'm surprised that it's taken this long for someone to try to take him out, honestly. Right? So I would have had more, especially with it being an event outside. What the fuck is actually going on here, right? So why didn't you have more people? Why didn't you have this spot identified?
That's a valid point.
And then, because the other thing, too, is that the snipers found him really quickly. And as I understand it, from what I'm getting from very reliable sources, they actually knew where he was. They saw him. And it makes sense because it took them zero time to, as you said, eliminate him. Right?
Yeah, or neutralize.
Neutralize, yes. Right? To neutralize him, right?
Word.
And
so do you know who Mark Maron is?
Yeah.
Okay. So Mark Maron's a podcaster.
Mm-hmm.
He had Obama on his show.
Yes.
The WTF podcast. And he talked about what he went through to be able to have Obama on his podcast.
Yep.
Obama was no longer the president. And he was like, okay, we're doing this, we're scoping everything, and oh, by the way, there will be a sniper trained on your fucking head the entire show. Mm-hmm. So just know that that's there.
Like, you better blow your nose, take an Allegra, because if you sneeze, you're going to die.
Exactly.
Like, do you remember when the RNC was here in Cleveland in 2016?
I do.
Do you remember?
Do you remember how much I wanted to fuck with people?
Yeah, and
which was bad, by the way.
But it was so hard getting around.
Oh, that's right. You're trying to go around town. You got shut down.
Yes, you couldn't even get within smelling distance of a sewer down there.
It was blocks.
Right, you literally
Yes.
couldn't get down there. So now that's the RNC. I get it; it's a little bit different. But again, you've got a former president, and the idea that he was able to just walk through with the equipment that he had. Maybe he had his rifle, maybe he didn't. If he didn't have the rifle, even bigger problems, because where the fuck was it? Why wasn't it found? And again, why wasn't that position where he shot from? Why wasn't there someone like there? And here's the thing.
Someone changed.
But here's the thing. There was someone actually in the fucking building. Now, someone was just like, well, maybe they were up there and then they went down. Like, that's not how it works, right? If you're posted on top of the roof, you don't leave that post until there's someone there to replace you, right? So I would be on the roof. You would, like, I would call down and like, hey, I got to take a piss. Come up here, right? You would come up. I would say, all right, there he is. Here's this, blah, blah, blah. Then I would go down, but there would be someone up there the entire time. All right. So the idea that this roof that is 150 yards away from the podium where Trump is speaking at is just left wide open, where you've got a clear line of sight directly to the podium, makes no sense. And that is where there is
100% agree.
I just refuse to believe that Secret Service is that incompetent. I'm sorry. I don't believe that they're that incompetent. It makes no God.
If you're wrong, then how has there not been an assassination every other presidency? Right? I mean, here's the thing. Here's the crazy thing. There have been 4 presidents assassinated out of 46. So basically, 4 out of 10 presidents have been murdered on the job. And that's a fucking crazy number.
Since Reagan in the 80, what was that, 82?
It was 82-ish, yeah,
right?
81, 82.
I think it was 82.
Kennedy before that, Garfield, and then McKinley.
But Reagan, 82, I was a robust 2 years old at the time.
Oh, you're young and strong.
I don't remember that happening, obviously.
I do.
But
I remember being in 4th grade.
That's the advantage of history books. But nonetheless, we haven't had anybody even come close to doing anything remotely close to this, right?
And Obama and Bush and Reagan. Well, Reagan was attempted, but I mean, we just talked about this seconds ago. Whatever. But Obama.
Clinton? Right?
Yes,
Many people didn't like Clinton. And
yes.
Obama, I'm sure Obama was under constant threat, right? Donald Trump himself, right? The first 4 years, right? Look, again, don't like him, can't stand him, but I have to imagine there were people out there who wanted to kill him. I'm sure that attempts may have been made. We probably never found out about it. They were probably snuffed out before they even had a chance. It just seems...
And what, have you ever seen... No, I know you've seen, because you've sent me videos of what the Secret Service has at their disposal. And I remember you sending me like a fucking SUV with a 50 cal machine. It was you, right?
Yes.
You sent me this.
Yes.
This is what pops up if we need to fuck with people outside of the White House. This is what is available.
I want one so bad.
I know you do because you're a psycho.
I want one. Like, you should see the truck that we use, right? It's
no. Who's we use?
It's for our security thing. It's a armored Escalade, right?
I remember. Okay.
And so when you open the door and look at the window, like, you guys can't see this because it's a podcast and we don't have video, but like, my hands are about 4 or 5 inches apart. That's how thick the glass is on this thing. Right. It's also real hard to stop if you're not prepared, because it's way heavier than anything I've driven. Right. Like, so you literally have to ease into stops because you ain't coming to a sudden stop. And when it gets going, it gets going. But the point is, I want us to get one of those 50 cals installed.
Well, we're not going to have that happen for our podcast. Our podcast does not draw that kind of negative attention. All right, let's move on. Because
I don't know. We have said a lot of shit about Vladimir Putin.
We have said a lot of shit about Vladimir Putin. I don't think that gun would save us, honestly. So Trump assassination issues aside, J.D. Vance is named as the
Here's the
VP.
thing, though. Who has the most to gain out of taking Trump out? Or making it look like Trump. Like, I don't... Now, here's this...
I'm curious where you're going to go with
this.
Because
Well, here's the thing. I don't know where it goes. But who has the most to gain by this, right? If it's a conspiracy, even if the kid...
Has he gained
Hold on. Let me finish.
I'll let you finish, but... Kanye.
You are going to get hit in the balls today. I have decided. But my question.
Do stop. Actually, do stop.
My question is, who has the most to gain? Now, hear me out. I think the kid did. I think he worked on his own, but again, him getting access to where he gets makes no sense. So, what I'm not I'm not as well versed in conspiracy theorism as yourself and many others. But I think they got wind that this kid was going to do this. I think that someone knew that this was going to happen, and I think someone said, "Let's see how far he gets." Right? And then I think the plan was, let's see how far he gets, and then we take him out. We are the conquering heroes, and it could go one of two ways, right? Either they were going to let him get to a certain point, then they were going to take the shooter out, and maybe it helps to elevate Trump, or they say, let's just see what happens. Maybe he takes him out, and problem solved, right? You literally just had a Supreme Court case that said, hey, look, president's doing something while he's doing his presidential duties. It's okay. So maybe everybody, I don't think Biden knew anything about it if it was a ruse out of his administration, right? I think that someone said, look, Supreme Court basically just gave us immunity, so maybe we just let this happen. It happens. He's gone. Everybody's in disarray, and then we walk right back into the White House. I don't know. I'm just saying possibilities of why this was allowed to go down, because it makes no sense that I don't buy incompetence. I don't buy it, right? I just don't buy that it was incompetence, and you can show me the chubby lady with the beaver teeth and the Ray-Bans all you want. I don't care about her, right? Now maybe it is her fault because her chubby butt couldn't get up on the roof. Okay. I don't know. But what I do know, I just don't buy the incompetence, knowing the history of the Secret Service. And something happened. There was something that happened that feels to me that it had to be intentional. I'm sorry, it just doesn't make sense. And so the question then becomes, who has the most to gain out of this? A failed attempt, Trump and MAGA have a fuck ton to gain out of it, as we're seeing, right? They're fundraising off of it. It's pulled people to the other side. Oh, the Democrats are violent and they're crazy, and this is ridiculous. There are people just look how tough Trump is. He took a shot and everything else. But I don't know. So the question is, who has the most to gain? Why'd they do it? I don't know if we ever find out. Does this end up being the big conspiracy of my generation, I guess, where you were obsessed about the Kennedy assassination files, and then our generation gets obsessed about who almost tried to kill Trump or whatever. I don't know. But I feel like there's a hell of a lot more to this story than just some weird-looking kid from outside of Butler, PA, decided to try to take Trump out, fails, and the Secret Service just happened to be having their worst day of all time. I find that hard to believe.
Okay, so multiple things to respond to. One, you just walked right into my wheelhouse, because I agree that it's hard to convince me that there wasn't more to the story. Your jabs at me and JFK, all right.
Those weren't at you. And those aren't jabs. Those are true.
They're verified. They're verified. I'll acknowledge.
Right,
I've done it.
Listen, there was plenty of reasons to want to know what the fuck happened there. And there's enough to say something fucked up happened, right? With JFK.
To your bigger point, who benefited the most? Trump had people wearing fucking weird ear covers. He got made the conquering hero for doing that.
Now,
yes, okay.
I will say though, what do I say about the Democrats all the time? They're so good at fucking up. Right.
You've said that, and you've rarely been proven wrong.
So, is it possible that these dipshits get wind of
Okay, all right, go ahead.
These dipshits get wind of an assassination attempt, decide that they're going to let it ride. It goes fucking south, and the exact opposite happens of what they intended. I would actually believe that.
I am not getting on board
with
that.
Would you be surprised if 5 years from
now... No.
Something gets released.
The answer is no. No, I'm not letting you finish the fucking sentence, because I don't want to be held accountable 5 years from now, because it could happen. The Democrats' ability to fuck things up is
special.
It's awesome. It's fantastic. Actually, it's awful. Fucking A. But speaking of Democrats, all right. So let's jump through. We've been rambling on for 40 minutes now. J.D. Vance is now...
Former president that's currently running for president, someone taking an actual shot at and almost hitting him is
Yes. It's worthy of conversation, no doubt. And the fact that, Steve, when did we talk? We talked on Thursday, and then the whole fucking world blew up. Trump gets shot at. J.D. Vance gets named the vice presidential candidate. Bob Menendez gets found guilty, deservedly.
So let's back up.
We're going to have to.
J.D. Vance, congressman out of our lovely state of Ohio.
The great state of Ohio.
Yep, heart of
He's
it all.
our neighborhood.
He, he's not, he's not a congressman.
He's a senator.
He's a
senator. He ran against Tim Ryan, your boy from Youngstown.
Yes, he's a senator, and he's got a sketchy past. He's actually got a very recent past of trashing Trump, but,
Wait, you just think because he called him America's Hitler that's trashing him? How dare you, Steve?
But he eventually, bends the knee.
Rolls over like a bitch.
Bends the knee, kisses the ring.
Rolls over like a bitch.
And goes through the whole process of being a Trump sycophant. What we do know is that he is a
rolled over like a bitch.
Neo-monarchist, neo-monarchist, where he believes that the U.S. should basically have a king. That democracy in the republic has failed, and we need a monarchy, and we need a king, and we need someone like Donald Trump to be the king, and that it should be passed down as opposed to having free elections because the experiment has failed. There's too many black people doing things, and there's too much violence that is minority, and we have too many immigrants, and women are voting and having abortions, and we just need to get rid of all that. So if we have a king and we get rid of all this nonsensical stuff of Congress and Senate and voting and elections, and we just do things like it's fucking Game of Thrones, then that's better for the U.S. than what we currently have. J.D. Vance is a proponent of this, and if you think that I'm making it up, just look up neo-monarchism, I believe.
His book is
what?
Hillbilly Elegy? I think Hillbilly Elegy is his book.
I don't know what you're talking about. Oh,
his book.
J.D. Vance's book.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. You can go into his book, but there's also other evidence of it. It's not hard to find. Just go look at it. Now, it's out there. It's crazy. Fine. But he believes it. So you also have this Project 2025 that you and Ben talked about. That doesn't necessarily say that we should have a king, but if you look at basically what they're trying to do by stripping away the administrative state, they say that they're trying to put power back into Congress, but in actuality, they're not. They're trying to divert more power into the executive branch to allow the president to be able to make, a lot of these decisions without having to deal with Congress. You could see where this is going, and the idea that Trump doesn't know what Project 2025 is, and he's never heard of this, and kings are silly, and blah, blah, blah. And yet we know that he's this guy who is driven by ego and narcissism, and the idea of him being king, he would love that. Like, look what I did. I got rid of democracy in a republic, and I made myself king of the greatest country in the world, and blah, blah, blah. Like, it all makes sense that he picks J.D. Vance to be there. Like, we know that J.D. Vance is not Mike Pence, right? Mike Pence had his own flaws, but Mike Pence at least had a moral code, even if it was a little too moral for most of the country. But he had one, and when we needed him, he actually stepped up and put his life on the line to protect our democracy and our republic. And so for that, like, as much as I can't stand Mike Pence, we owe him one.
Yeah,
right?
100%.
We absolutely
100%.
owe him one, because that man literally, if he did what they wanted it to do, we would be, who knows where we would be right now. But he puts his life on the line on January 6th. He does his job as it's understood by any sane fucking person that understands the Constitution and how our country works and the peaceful transfer of power, and we're able to get Trump out of the White House. J.D. Vance doesn't have that same moral code by any stretch of the imagination, and if we get into a position, right, where they're back in office and it's a close race, J.D. Vance isn't going to do, I don't believe, what Mike Pence did. He don't have those balls. And so that's why it is critical that people show up to vote and that they keep these people out of office, because this shit is insane. Between the Project 2025, what the Heritage Foundation wants, what this psycho is talking about, right? Trump may not know what Project 2025 is, even though I believe that he does. But everybody else around him knows exactly what it is. They know what the game plan is. And if they get into office, they are going to shift into gear and start to roll this shit through. And there is no one that will be able to stop them.
I mean, the only pushback I'll give is that Vance will not. It's not that he doesn't have the balls; he's on board.
Okay, fine.
Whatever. Again, that's a
doesn't have the balls. He's on board.
Pushback. Either way, he literally is on board with that mentality.
He's not going to be.
He will not be the roadblock to the Constitution, which we both believe in. Again, if that felt like an insult or a pushback,
no. It's a more accurate way of saying it, right? Like, it's not that, oh, I don't believe in this, but I don't have the balls to push back. He's like, yeah, I'm totally on board with this. Yeah, fuck that.
Which is worse, right?
Yes,
it's
you're absolutely
100%
right.
worse.
Absolutely right. I would want to spend more time on J.D. Vance. I will point out that he does have a beard, so that's a plus, I guess.
He looks like Gary from American...
Damn it, just act, Gary.
Gary Johnson from Team America. Dude, all right, so I was high as fuck.
How do we know we should trust this guy? Gary sucked my dick last night. Oh, okay.
Okay, no one else gets that joke but us. But, Steve, I was watching Gary Johnson.
Hold on, we got to get through this because we've been on for a long time. So, wait, you were watching Gary Johnson?
I was watching J.D. Vance on TV. And I'm like, that's fucking Gary Johnson. I was high as a fucking kite. And
damn it,
I'm like,
act, Gary, just act.
Just act. Yes, all right, save us.
Senator Bob Menendez, found guilty on all charges. Finally, he said he will not be seeking re-election, mostly because he'll be in prison. But this pleases me because I never liked Bob Menendez. He always...
He's a scumbag.
He was a scumbag. We've known it for 20
he had
fucking
gold
years.
bricks in his fucking house.
Like, he's such a cliche of a corrupt political person.
Scumbag, yes.
Yeah, I mean, he just, I'm glad to be rid of him. I'm sorry it throws the numbers out of whack for the Democrats, but sorry, like, you guys should have done something about this a while ago. Right? Like, they should, like, oh, well, we couldn't because you needed the votes. Right? Like, so you're just going to ship everything off because you need the votes?
Gold bricks in suit coats.
Right. Like, this guy can't...
I've got a few. I've got a few gold bricks.
Yeah, okay, fine,
Actually,
Jim.
I don't.
I think I still have...
How many gold bricks do you have, Steven?
I have one.
0. Oh, you have one?
I have one.
Do you?
Yes. It's pretty cool.
I'm sure it is.
It's really cool.
I'm sure it is.
It's just...
All right.
Gold.
Moving on!
Anyway, sorry. Well, fuck. But, like, I didn't get mine like this shady motherfucker. This dude was literally Googling how to hide money that he shouldn't have, right? And then came up with fucking gold bricks. Like, my God. Anyway, and he was a senator, right? This is what we're dealing with, right? So Bob Menendez was a fucking senator. And this
from New Jersey. From New Jersey. Having gold bricks is standard behavior.
But he literally was Googling how to hide the money that he was getting illegally.
Yes, he was.
What's the best way?
Gold bricks.
Come on, bro. And then, this whopper that Biden decided to not seek re-election, hit us yesterday, right? Pretty square in the face. I mean, I think there was some hinting that this is something that was going to happen. I talked to people, in the D.C. circle and said that it was imminent, and sure enough, there it came yesterday. Look, I don't have a great position on this. My thing is, look, I'm not voting for Trump. If you guys want to roll half-dead Biden out there as the nominee, then so be it. I'm going to have to vote for him. We all know I don't like him. I've got plenty of beef with him. I can also acknowledge he's done some, he's done good things, plenty of good things, him and his administration. But we all saw that debate performance. We all saw the presser after. We've seen him. He's not as sharp as you would want the person to be that's running the free fucking world. I'm sorry. And this idea that, like, oh, he'll be fine for another 4 years. He's already doing the job. If he couldn't do it now, then, yeah, I'm sorry. That's how aging works, right? As you age, things get harder, right? Presidents age faster than anybody else, him included, right? He looks a hell of a lot older than he did than when he went into office. He's acting like it. He has slowed down. He can't keep up. You want that dude.
You can say the same about Obama, Bush, and Clinton.
Right? Yeah, but
Steve, you're not wrong.
They all slowed down. Yeah, sure. But at no point, you look at them
from day 1 to day 8, and it's like, oh God.
I was too young to see sort of the demise of Reagan, right, with Alzheimer's and everything. Like I remember people talking about it, but I was too young, and I don't know how bad it was while he was in office, right? Real. But in my time, I've never had other than Reagan, right, which I don't remember. Like I haven't had a president so old and going through something like this. I mean, Clinton getting his dick sucked was one thing. George Bush just kind of being a dipshit was another thing. GW. Obama just kind of being black was a whole different thing, right?
Obama aged a lot in 8 years.
But he aged a lot in 8 years. But at no point in time did anyone were you looking at him and saying
when he started,
right? So. Like I mean, he gets out of office. He's in his early 50s, right?
Yes.
So okay, like I'm not worried about him going and talking to Vladimir Putin, right? I'm not worried about him sitting in a room with Benjamin Netanyahu, right? And you're like, is this dude gonna pause like fucking Mitch McConnell? Right, like I mean, and like, look, that's a legit.
That's not only legit, it's awful.
Right, like, and I feel terrible. And here's my thing: look, I have a company, right? Yes. Let's say we as a company said, hey, you know what? We need to get some senior leadership in here. We need to go hire an experienced CEO to help kind of guide, help be the rudder of the ship. I'm not hiring Joe Biden to fill that role. Right? Yeah, he's got a lot of experience and it's great, and he's doing a great bang-up job being the president as of right now, this day. But if his interview performance was like his debate performance, and then the follow-up interview was like his presser performance, I'm looking and saying, man, I bet that guy's got a lot of great stories, but there is no fucking way I'm hiring him and putting the keys to this company in his hands. And if I'm not going to do it for my fucking company, I'm for damn sure not going to do it for my fucking country. I'm sorry. So, like, to me, this should have happened a while ago, right? But they were dead set that they were going to fucking ride with him. So it's like, all right, if you're going to ride with him, ride with him. Right, and then the pressure starts to build, and it's just like, I mean, yeah, I guess if you're going to swap them out, because I'm going to vote for whoever that is not Trump. But we were getting closer and closer and closer. Now, fortunately, it happened before the convention, right? Because it would have been a mess if it happens after the convention and they actually made him the nominee, because technically he's not the nominee as of right now today, right? So because he stepped down when he did, they've got time. So then the question becomes, who replaces him?
All right, everything you said is legitimate, and I think who replaces him is established. I mean, it's going to be Kamala. It has to be. They have no option.
Oh, really?
Yes, really.
So, I mean, obviously, we have talked via text and our group chats and everything else. I like that is what the answer should be. The answer should be Kamala Harris is replaces him as the nominee for the Democrats. She picks a VP, which again I think it should be either Andy Beshear or Roy Cooper. She needs some.
By the way, Roy Cooper was irrelevant until a month ago.
Okay, well he's relevant now, and I don't really give a fuck. He needs to be the vice president or Andy Beshear.
I'm with either of them.
You need somebody from the South. You need somebody who's going to temper all the anti-gun talk, and you need somebody that can identify.
It cannot be Gavin Newsom, is what you're saying.
It cannot be Gavin Newsom under any stretch of the imagination. It cannot be him, or you will lose this election.
Agreed.
Right? Like you're already.
Agreed.
You're already.
See, we've had this conversation.
Yelling.
What's that?
I said stop yelling.
I'm not trying to yell.
And we did,
you.
but
I'm yelling with you.
I know it's just so loud because these headphones are so good.
They are good.
But Like it can't be Gavin Newsom. He's too far left. You've got the whole thing with California. California's a mess right now. I'm sorry. I know we live by the beach. Okay, but you're going to fall into the ocean at any given time. Shut up. But it can't be Gavin Newsom, right? And at some point, he's going to run for president, and everybody's going to fawn over him. And I don't like him, but whatever.
Fall on his face because he's not electable. But
maybe.
Okay.
But point being is that he definitely can't be involved now. It would be too messy. I think you need somebody else with a lower profile, but you need someone that's going to balance out that ticket. If they're smart, again, they're going with the Andy Bashir or Aurora Cooper. It should be Kamala, and the big reason why is just her ability to access the money that the Biden-Harris campaign has already raised, because that money necessarily wouldn't be able to directly be deposited into another candidate's account. Now they could basically turn it into a giant super PAC and then donate it in chunks, so you don't necessarily lose the money. But why go through all that when you can just go through Harris? She could still use the money. We know that Kamala Harris can fundraise. I think you picked the right VP candidate. It'll get a hell of a lot easier to fundraise. They've already got about $91 million in their war chest. This should be an easy decision, but the Democrats are going to Democrat, and they're going to make it hard. And I've heard everything from Joe Manchin is thinking about re-registering as a Democrat and maybe running with Tulsi Gabbard, which I think is a terrible idea, but I think it could be problematic at the convention. Obviously, Gavin Newsom's name comes back into play because I think there are people who want him. And again, I think that is a terrible decision if they go down that route. Remember, I did like Kamala Harris the first go-round back in 2020, but she faded, right? Now, she also now has experience as the vice president of the United States. And some people are going to be like, what has she done? She's a VP. VPs don't. You're not going to look at a VP on all their accomplishments.
You were a Kamala Harris supporter for a bit when she punched Joe Biden in the nuts and was like called him out and said,
No. I was a Kamala Harris fan prior to that. When she actually had that little snappy comeback, I said that could be problematic
for Biden.
For her. Remember, I said it could be problematic for her because then the next go round, right? Like she's going to need to be able to top that snappy comeback, and if she can't, then they are going to eat her alive. What the fuck happened, right?
All right, so she punched back at Biden.
She punched back at Biden, great, right? And everybody lost their mind over it. I said, not the best thing, because that's a hard one to come back from, right? Like if I give you a right hook, but I don't completely knock you out, and I don't have another opportunity to give you that right hook, and then you just start hitting me in the body, hitting me in the body, hitting me in the body, and boom, you hit me in the face, you knock me out. So great, you got that one good shot, but you're now laying on the mat.
Okay, fair.
Right? She got her one good shot in. She had no ammunition after that, and she fizzled bad. Right?
Okay.
I mean, and the issue was like you can't go and again, she went into attack mode on Joe Biden, and what needed to happen,
he rolled over and said,
he's like, all right,
step on board, baby.
Right? Like, well, what he did was he picked she has the chops, right? She's a career prosecutor. She was the attorney general for the state of California, which is the second highest populated state in the fucking union, right?
First, isn't it?
First or second, right? Either way, it's up there.
Either
way, right? Then she was a U.S. senator. Now she's got vice president of the United States on her resume. She's got the chops to do it. And I think now, having gone through that experience of, kind of having a bit of a rise and then falling flat on her face, but then, getting picked, being willing, right? Because she gets the punch in on Biden. Biden's just like, oh, shit, right? Like, he takes it, but he weathers the storm, and then he says, you are going to be my VP candidate, right? And then she does, and
that's his way of silencing her, right?
No. Think about it. Then because she easily could have said, no, fuck you. I'm not here to play second fiddle.
She could have.
She could have absolutely told him to fuck off. I'm not here to play second fiddle. I'm going to wait my turn, and either I'll wait until you're done, right, after your 8 years, right, or if you decide to step down after the first, then I'll run then. But she didn't. She said, you know what? I'm going to take this opportunity to sharpen my skill set. I'm going to take this opportunity to get the experience that they told me that I didn't have in the world of foreign policy. And when you do decide to hang them up, whether it's after 4 years or 8, then I'm going to be in a prime position to be able to really make
So
my move.
she's young and smart. Is
Yeah,
what you're saying.
and so what I'm saying is that I think that she really is. She should be the only choice, but I think that there are multiple factions in the Democratic Party, in the Democratic sphere, that either don't want her specifically and will take anybody else, or they have their specific person that they want to see, and they're willing to sacrifice her to go get their person in place. I don't know specifics in terms of names, but like you can already see the infighting is already starting to happen, and I think that really the DNC, the National Convention for the Democrats, is going to be very intense.
We'll see. I think she's going to be the shoe-in. I think
It's not a Jim. I'm just telling you, bud. I'm going to ring my own bell. I'm
All right.
rarely wrong on this. This is not a coronation for Kamala. It's just not.
Okay.
Now, I'm not saying that it shouldn't be. I'm telling you that it should be. I'm telling you she should be the nominee. I'm telling you who her vice president should be. I'm telling you she should be the one, and they should all galvanize behind her and make a push to take it to Trump and keep the White House. That's what should happen. That's not what is happening right now. It's not.
Well, I hope you're wrong.
You've got some really, 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 really rich people that have their
So
hooks.
who do you think is going to be the nominee?
I think it's going to be Harris, but I'm telling you, it's not. It's not just
not
a
a
walkthrough.
walkthrough.
It's not a walkthrough. And someone, look, we just talked about how the Democrats can royally fuck shit up, and I'm telling you, I
would love to argue with you on this, but I can't.
If they cut her legs from underneath her, and they put in, it ends up being Gavin Newsom or
If it's
some
Gavin Newsom, just put a bullet in my fucking head
or
now.
some random white dude.
I'm sorry I said those words.
Right.
And it might actually happen. Not that I'm relevant enough to deserve a bullet. But anyway, that would be bad. Yes, go ahead.
I would never shoot you in the head.
I didn't say you, psycho.
I also just said I wouldn't shoot you in the head.
Well, thank you for
I might
saying.
shoot you. I might shoot you in the ass with like a 22 or something.
Thank you for listening to Whiskey Congress. You're
But
ready to wrap it
but
up or no?
no. But what I'm saying is, I think that we're the next month because the Democratic National Convention I think is like August.
Is it August?
August 19th
Fucking
through the
ridiculous, dude.
Well, thank God it is.
True.
Given the way shit is played out, thank God it is. Could you imagine if they already had the convention, but then it was just kind of like, dude, you got it.
Thank you for listening to Whiskey Congress. Here.
Well,
No, I'm
hold
joking,
on.
but
What I'm saying is,
I'm joking, but you're right.
Look,
It's
Biden,
ridiculous.
I would have voted for Biden. I tried not to be too down on his age and everything else, because now the talking points on the
You didn't
conservative.
do great on that, by the way.
Well, I just said, look, I told you from the get-go that I didn't like the guy because he was one of the
You
reasons.
did not like the guy from the get-go because he was not your guy.
I didn't like him.
That's fair.
I
That's
go
fair.
back. I
See,
go back to
I'm
saying.
not judging you.
I go back to saying I didn't like him as Obama's vice presidential candidate.
You made that clear.
Right? And so, but now we're in this position where I'm stuck with him. So if I'm stuck with him, then the move wasn't to attack. I'm sorry that people are upset that people saw the debate and were disturbed by it, and you want me to basically ignore what my eyes and ears told me is that this guy should not be running the fucking country. Now, here's the other thing that scares me though. There's and I've only seen it from black people for some reason, and I think I know why, but I don't completely know why, that they're like, well, what Biden really should do is step down right now. Not just say he's not running, he should just resign from the White House, and then Kamala can become the president now, so then she'll be the incumbent, right? And then, well, dipshit, you can't do that. And you're absolutely a dipshit and an idiot if you think that that's a good idea, and here's why. Because there's actually instructions on why that would be a terrible idea. It's called the Constitution, specifically the 25th Amendment. You know why? Because if Joe Biden were to resign or become incapacitated, you're right, Kamala would move into the presidency. Fantastic. But she needs a vice president, right? So, in order for her to get a vice president moving into that seat, right, because it's been vacated by Biden, her vice presidential candidate would have to be approved by Congress. Who has control of Congress right now, Jim?
The Republicans do.
And do you think that Mike Johnson, who's got Mitch McConnell, Posy Bear.
So here's what bothers me.
Do you
It's
honestly
like, you
think?
make me answer these questions?
Do you honestly think that Mitch McConnell and Mike Johnson are going to sit there and approve the vice presidential candidate for Kamala Harris if Biden gives that office up? Do you think they're going to do that? You know why?
See, you do this to me all the time.
The answer is no.
No.
They're absolutely not. And they're going to leave her without a vice president. Now, in the end, we've had presidents who have actually been in office without presidents, but why is that problematic? You know why it's problematic? Because if there's no vice president, then guess what you do not have in the Senate? You don't have a tiebreaker. Right? So they will absolutely handcuff her if Biden were to do that. So I want to put it over the airwaves now. Stop with this shit about Biden just resigning from the office as of right now, today. Stop it. All of you. Stop it who think it's a good idea. I don't know why I'm only seeing it from black people. That makes me fucking irate. But stop it. That is a terrible fucking idea.
I just hate that I have to bear the brunt of this anger. I know you're not directing it at me specifically.
That's not what you should be upset about. What you need to be upset what you need to be upset about is the fact that you are getting hit in the balls at some point today.
All right. Well, I hope that doesn't happen.
It's gonna.
If it does, there will be retaliation. I do have firearms.
Retaliate these nuts. Actually, that's exactly what you would do.
Retaliate with.
All right, we gotta go.
And we are at Whiskey Congress on Instagram and X. We're not even calling it Twitter anymore. I'm doing it to piss Steve off.